podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Cardiff Central Podcast.
Hello and Happy New Year from us at Cardiff Central. I'm Harley as always, and joining me is Carwyn. How are you doing, Carwyn?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Nice to be in this new year, 2024, the year of hope and glory. How are you feeling, Harley? New job, new you, new everything, isn't it?
Well, so, new job, old way of living because I'm back with my mother, which is not as grateful as I am for her generosity. It's something really bad about paying a mortgage and still living in your mother's house at the same time. But it was a great Christmas. I'm excited to have a job which I don't have to reapply for every couple of years. So all good. How was your Christmas?
Yeah, great. I was travelling back and forth to West Wales every couple of days, trying to please two sets of families, and I think we pleased neither overall. But we tried our best. But yeah, it was nice to be fair. Caught the derby, the Scarlets Ospreys derby on Boxing Day, and then New Year's Day I was working for the Beeb. So I was catching the derbies in Central Square, watching the games there. So it was busy rugby watching Christmas, even though I was busy with family as well.
Well, I said you probably had a much nicer viewing experience than the people who were at the brewery field. Then you're in a nice office.
Well, there's a joke there about I only got to view half the second half, but I worry about criticising certain people I work for there. But I think the conditions were so dreadful. Nothing could be done. Was it? There's a lot of talk about the pitch and all this sort of thing. But I gotta say, I haven't seen conditions like that weather-wise in Wales for a long time. It sort of looked like Connacht away day, didn't it? Really, that's what it reminded me of. I thought everything would seem to be a Connacht away day for the first half, and then second half seems to be Connacht worst ever scenario. But yeah, I wasn't a drowned rat compared to the people that were at the brewery field, I suppose.
Yeah, we think that game should have stopped after 60 minutes. Nothing to do with the fact that was when Cardiff was still in the lead.
Can I ask you on that one? There's obviously been a lot of talk on it of the pitchgate. Well, pitchgate. I don't want to call it pitchgate, but everyone's been talking about it. Do you feel the game should have gone ahead?
I mean, we can't say you can't simultaneously say we're tougher than footballers. It's not football, blah blah blah, and then get upset because it's muddy. But it really did play into Ospreys' hands. They were better than Cardiff, which you can't. You've got to praise the Ospreys for that one. Yeah, a bit of a spoiler. So if you didn't realise by now, you probably, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast, but yeah. So obviously we lost the New Year's Day derby to the Ospreys, 27-21, after a decent 27-20.
21. You're right. Yeah.
Helps to remember the scores. So in the brewery field, it was absolutely torrential rain as it had been for the past few days. I think the one day over Christmas happened to be Boxing Day, which is actually the one day I did play rugby, and the pitch was not that bad. Although I'll be honest, most of our training pitches have gotten to that sort of state by then, so you do have to feel for the grounds people. And apparently the brewery field's one of the better draining ones, and I mean, we could go into a long debate about the Ospreys needing a ground they've got primacy of tenancy, but that's the situation. You can't really fault that. As I said, there are things Cardiff could have done to make that game more winnable for them, but we'll go on to. Should we just start with the Ospreys derby now whilst we're basically talking about it?
Yeah, sorry, I think I've jumped the gun and moved us a few topics on, haven't I? But I've also
we'll circle back to news and things. As I said, it's flown. Let's go with the flow.
If we were a football podcast, we'd have breaking news right now because Gemma Granger's just resigned as Wales coach. But that's by the by. But yeah, yes, look at the Ospreys game because it seems to be a tale of Cardiff season. Is that fair to say? Tale of two halves and all that jazz.
I Yeah, I think if anything, it's just a tale of Cardiff over the last 5, 6 years. Is that when it's a game of as someone would call it, a game of rugby, where it's about throwing the ball around, we were doing pretty well. The two tries. I mean, one thing is, despite all that rain and all that horrible mud, you got to remember, five of those 6 tries scored were all from open play.
Yeah.
Which by wingers, so Giles getting a brace.
Mm.
So I think, I thought the Mason Grady try was brilliant. I did laugh. I did say to James of the one of the co-hosts of the Rap and of the Ospreys Diary, the only thing Jack Walsh did wrong in that Mason Grady try was he's not 6'5".
Yeah.
That was literally, I think, the only way you could stop that. But
to be fair, I did wonder if he was still suffering the ill effect, because he'd come just straight from a head knock with Harry Deeves, didn't he? Where Harry Deeves went off and didn't come back on. And then he's gone up for a high ball, and he's just got it wrong, hasn't he? Let's be honest about it. And there's better, I was going to say better players than Jack Walsh. There are plenty of good players out there that have made that mistake before. And yeah, Mason Grady being 6'5" or whatever he is doesn't make things any easier.
I said, if the person next to you can reach their arm higher than you can jump, you're losing a battle. But he took it well. I mean, to take, he didn't break stride, so that was impressive bit of skill. And just Morgan Morse's try as well was just. It may have caused injury to Cardiff's signing of the season, Tina Stabia, but it was such a good try.
Yessin and I were talking about it on the Welsh pod yesterday, and it's hard not to get excited about him. I know this is a Cardiff pod and all that, but the sky's the limit as far as, and you don't want to put pressure on him, but he's a confident young lad, and I mean that in the best way. Morgan Morse, I haven't spoken to him in an interview, and he looks the real deal and seems to want to put the work in, and if he does, he could be a brilliant player for the future. Like Dan Edwards, who I thought was superb in the second half as well for Ospreys. Just want to mention his as well, because they did turn the game. Those two moments.
Yeah. Do you think if Dan Edwards didn't come on until later in the game, Cardiff would have played better? If Owen Williams was still playing 10?
Owen Williams didn't have his best day, did he? Let's be honest about it.
I feel like he was. That was a good substitution from Booth, I thought.
Yeah, it was a weird one.
Injury but
yeah, because that's a weird one, because that's the sort of conditions I'd have gone, oh, it's Owen Williams' bag, isn't it? Like long kicking, trying to get territory, defensive solidity, all the things which I would attribute to Owen Williams. Those are things that I would say, yeah, he's brilliant at those things. Whereas the running rugby side of the game is probably the side where you say, is that Owen Williams' bag? Is that his strength? But yeah, it did seem to really reap the rewards with Dan Edwards coming on in the second half. But yeah. Before we move on, just because it's popped on, that is the second time a Cardiff player, by the way, has celebrated early, and it needs to stop. Mason Grady, because I mentioned it after the Ben Thomas one against I can't remember who it was against now. A couple of weeks ago, inside ball from Lilo off a Thomas Williams half offload. But yeah, Bath, I think it was. It needs to stop, because this is just ringing claxons in my head that there's going to be an absolute failure of some kind in the future.
It reminds me, there was one of the fans of the pod, I believe Tony. Sorry if I've forgotten your name. I didn't write it down. And it was well over a week ago. But yeah, he commented on when we shared the clip of Mason Grady's trying to stop celebrating early.
It gives me kittens. I can see Freddie Burns. I just see Freddie. I see Leguizamon. I see like all these, not some like Leguizamon. The Argentinian back rower and second rower whose name, it might be Leguizamon. Anyway, moving on. A bit scatterbrained today. But these moments where players have made humongous errors, it just don't do it. Please don't do it. I can't stress this enough. If I could have a direct line to Matt Sherrod, like, everything else is great. Keep doing what you're doing. But just please tell the players not to celebrate early, because it's driving me insane. It's my biggest worry for the future, I think, that it's going to go wrong for someone. And yeah, once it does, it's up on YouTube and memes and all sorts forever, isn't it? So it's yeah, best stayed away from.
But yeah, I said just to sort of counteract the idea that bringing Dan Edwards on was brilliant. I thought Matt Sherritt's subs policy once again was a bit suspect for me. Like I feel like when he made all the changes, particularly in the back five, it really underpowered the scrum, and it was always going to cause us a bad time. Like I feel like as soon as you took Teddy and Timani off, you lost an awful lot of bulk in that pack. I mean, it didn't help. We spent 20 minutes, a good 20 minutes with only 14 players because just our mole defense just was not where it needed to be that game.
Yeah, I can't disagree, but at the same time, I do feel playing Harry hindsight with that sort of substitutions.
Yeah,
When it's difficult, I think that's a difficult game to pick the right substitutions because I don't think Cardiff had the options to really change because they needed the momentum was changing, so therefore you need to make changes. But I think the changes that were on offer were not the changes that were required, perhaps because that Ospreys pack, you stick Dewi Lake in a back row with Morgan Morse and players like that, and then you've got a front row with an international coming on at hook. You've got other internationals scattered through the pack. A future international James Fender playing brilliantly in second row, and it's like that was a game that Ospreys were always going to win from that point because they just have that armory. That I was listening to something the other day and they were talking about if Ospreys played games at the Brewery Field every week, they'd probably win more games than they do currently because that weather, those conditions, that pitch cutter is going to suit them because they've got basically an international pack. And yeah, I can't. I don't want to put that one on Sherritt, to be fair. I think that was a case of needing to make substitutions, but maybe not having the personnel at that stage to make them.
Yeah, I said I think the thing for me is because we both had Teddy and Timani on at the same time. That's an awful lot of carrying power, a lot of bulk, and it dropped when really you want to be swapping those two around. But then I think with our injuries to the back row, that's sort of strong as it. And then as soon as you start putting the likes of Josh Turnbull in the second row, he's perfectly serviceable on nice firm ground. But then when you put him behind Carey, who is the weaker strokes, the weaker of our two international loose head props, it is gonna, you are gonna get, and then you have Mason Grady packing down at 6, who although he's a big boy, he's not a back row big boy.
Yeah.
He needs a few, he needs to eat a few more turkey sandwiches for that. So, and it was just a bit. I did think it was a bit worrying though. I know the conditions make it convincing, but I do think as well Tina's to be going off was probably, that's we were able to sort of keep the Ospreys back enough whilst he was on the pitch, and then as soon as that injury, it was just like that's it.
But that's one
way.
Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, like I think like our territorial game got a lot worse as soon as De Beer came off, and again you can't mitigate for that. So
yeah, what I was going to say is that's one where you can sort of point to Jockey and say, right, you haven't really given another 10 a shot. So once De Beer drops down, there was no one else to pick up the slack. The flip side of that is I would say Cardiff haven't been in a comfortable position in many games where they've been able to say, right, we can give you a 20-minute rest, De Beer, and bring someone else in. So that is the easy counter. And being honest about it, the times he has given another 10 an opportunity, they haven't quite taken it so far this season. So look, it's a worrying one with De Beer, and hopefully he's back to full fitness and full health. But he's become a key player and has been really good at points this season for Cardiff. And in my opinion, is definitely growing as a URC 10. It's just that continuation of an 80-minute performance from De Beer that we're still maybe waiting for. Bar the Bath game, I thought he was superb.
Yeah, well, saying that, speaking of, to sort of go from sort of the smart, the slightly more negative than positive game against the Ospreys. Well, I think for the most part we were excellent. I thought first half we held up we held our own up front, and I
Yeah.
think our back line worked really well. But I said, should we move on to the Boxing Day derby, which was a lot more enjoyable.
A quick mention of two players I thought was superb, especially in that first 40, were Seb and Carwyn. But yeah, we'll move on to the Boxing Day, which was a lot more positive to talk about.
I'm running out of superlatives for Carwyn. I'll be honest. He's getting, if he carries on like this, he's going to have like Dan Fish levels of cult hero. Hopefully with some international caps.
He's also going to have a whole horde of Cardiff fans just marching on Warren Gatlin's office to demand him being in 15 shirt, isn't he? Let's be honest about it, because that's the way he's playing at the moment. He is playing like an international 15.
I'd say, I mean, for me, he's the best Welsh qualified 15 playing at the moment. I know Hugh from Scarlet's Fever, he's banging the Kai Evans drum, and I do see it. But for me, I think Carwyn is far more in the classic mold of what Gatlin wants in a fullback.
Surprisingly so. Like, before this season, I didn't see any of that. I saw the counter attacking, I saw the step, I saw the sleight of hand and the sleight of waist, which is not a phrase, but run with it.
I get what you mean. Yeah, the will of the wisp. I guess is probably there.
Truly through anything, but I've seen bravery, I've seen high ball proficiency, I've seen kicking prowess, seen pretty much everything. Yeah, exactly, and can't really fault him this season, which is something I thought he'd get caught out a few times defensively this season, simply because he's a young 15. I can't really name you one where I've gone, oh God, is there a howler there? But
there's one drop ball, I think there's one drop ball which I think any 98% of people will drop. So
he's just been brilliant. So all the best to him, and I hope he can continue this form.
I suppose going from one hopeful Wales star fullback, should we talk about the sad news of JPR?
Yes, yeah. Obviously, desperately sad to hear of JPR's passing at 74. Quite fitting almost that game was played at the Brewery Fields, obviously where he made his name as a Bridgend player, and then London Welsh and Wales and the Lions. I think I tweeted something along the lines of the sideburns, the defence, or the tackles, and that drop goal, which is pretty, it's summing up. It's hard to sum up a player like JPR, but there are certain things that run in your brain, which are those things, those tackles on the French winger whose name escapes me, the drop goal for the Lions, obviously, that record against England never having lost. Other parts of his game as well, the 99 calls where he seemed to take that to heart, like this is my job, as if which I'm pretty sure William John McBride was like saying, no, this is a forwards thing, but no matter what, JPR is coming for fullback.
You argue with him.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Yeah, so part of the Invincibles tour, and I mean, obviously before our time, I think it's safe to say. But God, the memory lives on. You always know the silhouettes. One point I didn't think of, but I thought you was spot on Blood and Mud. Josh Gardner pointed out that JPR is exactly what Gatland just tried to bring out of all his Wales teams. Is that just doggedness, and no, we're not going away. This is gonna be a fight. You don't get to be easy. This is a fight. We're gonna fight for every last inch. And then we're gonna blow you away. And it's like, and and it does make me think, this is what Liam, I think of Liam Williams at times when people tell me stories of things. He's just an aggressive git who will make sure that you do not go past. And it's quite nice seeing Carwyn. It's starting to take a bit of that on as well. So maybe that is the Welsh fullback DNA.
Yeah, I think maybe it is, and like JPR it's not just Welshness. I think McGeechan called him the best fullback of all time. That's high praise from a player and coach of his caliber. Obviously, and there's players from all across the globe, Cullen, Blanco, etc. They'll argue that, but or the fans of them. But he was just so iconic and such a brilliant player in so many facets of the game. So thoughts go out to friends and family, obviously, but what a player and what an icon for Wales.
He changed what a fullback did. really. A fullback was basically just be there, make tackles, catch high, occasionally catch high balls. He was the one who turned it into an actual attacking position, and having that aggressiveness and actually, just doing that power on the pitch. So, and I think a couple of people have made the point that he'd actually work today, which isn't something you'd often say of particularly amateur era players.
Yeah. Would you take him today?
I'll be honest, he only finished rugby, 10, 12 years ago? Yeah. I'd have taken him. Yeah. I'd have taken prime JPR. Maybe you have to remind him you can't slug the nearest Englishman, but I'd definitely have taken him.
Yeah.
I said,
Brilliant.
So I think on behalf of Carwyn and myself, condolences to the family and people of Bridgend Ravens who held the man very dear to their hearts.
Yeah,
as do we all. So this is a really clunky segue now, but we do have to talk about the Dragons game. I don't really have too much to say about it, apart from that was probably the best our attackers worked all season, and I hope that's a sign of things, that it's clicking. But Dragons were a bit woeful.
Yeah, I'm not going to focus on it, but there's a couple of anyone who's seen the tries. There's a couple of tackles in there where you go, "Come on now." But I thought Cardiff were brilliant, executed it brilliantly. I guess there's a stat, something like the third or fourth team ever to score 7 tries in the first half of a Celtic Challenge or Celtic Cup or URC game. I think one of the others was a Cardiff performance against Connacht back in the day. So maybe there's some history there. But yeah, what a performance. Ben Thomas was superb, I thought. The line he cuts off the line, going through Basham and scoring was brilliant. Thomas, both of them coming back like he hadn't missed a step, which was great to see. Both of us have sort of talked about both of them at length about how much we've missed him. Just miss seeing him on a pitch, let alone not saying that the Cardiff have missed him that much really because of how strong the back rows be going, but how great a player he is, and he looked like he hadn't missed a step and was brilliant at 7, which I think is probably not his primary position nowadays. But can't fault the first half performance. Maybe if you're being a little bit pernickety, you could say second half it'd have been nice to keep the foot on the pedal a little bit more, but I think that is being overly pernickety, especially when you've got Domachowski running in from 70 yards and can't win it scoring.
Azarati.
Sorry, Azarati. Who did I say?
Hey, you said Domachowski. Hey, the lads on the tight end side don't score many tries, so it's nice to see both Azarati and Litterick have gotten on the score sheet this season.
I knew exactly what I meant, but I said Domachowski instead. But Azarati scored from 70. Domachowski would argue he'd score from 80. But it was one hell of an effort from Azarati. If anyone has seen it, I am exaggerating. It was only from 30, but give it to him.
I mean, it was still... It's one I don't think you need to make up the distance on, because it was still a decent bit of pace he showed there.
Yeah, honestly, that guy has gone from strength to strength. I think we'll come to it later in the pod, but I think he's made himself undroppable in terms of a squad for Wales going forward. But for Cardiff, he's undroppable at tight head. So. What do you say more? He's going from strength to strength. He's increased his scrummaging prowess. He's got great hands, works well in the loose, and if he can score tries like that every other week, I won't be complaining.
And he's an option at hooker.
Yes, which
you can put him down as a prop who can hook.
And the recent laws, that is always a benefit, isn't it?
Yeah. But I don't know how much he'd want to do that, because I think there's only a couple of times for the Rags really he did it. I think they were trying that experiment last season, and then injuries meant he had to come and play.
I take it over going down to 14 men to bring Hooker on, and go down to uncontested scrum. So that's my that's what I'll say on that one, to be honest.
And whilst we've still got him, at least we'll just get Thomas Williams to throw into lineouts. I'm sure he can do it. He can do pretty much anything else with ball skills.
Yeah, you've almost let a cat out of the bag. Yeah, you've let a cat out of the bag there, I was going to say.
Yeah, so speaking of, Thomas Williams will be leaving us at the end of the season. after, was it 12, 15 years as part of the Cardiff setup, both senior and academy. 100 odd caps, a load of tries and points thanks to that Connacht game where he had to really kick the goals. It's it's going to be sad to see him go. But the one thing that at least for me takes the sting off of it is how well Ellis Bevan's played whenever he's had a chance. And he hasn't had the chance yet, but Jamie Hill, when he was playing before his big injury, was really good as well. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. On Bevan, I'm excited to see where his future goes. I've been really impressed with him. I think it was earlier in the season where I was saying we should probably stick with Bevan for a couple of weeks because of how well he was playing and maybe bring Thomas Williams back into the fold slowly. But yeah, Thomas, what a servant to the club, and not just a servant, what he's brought to it in terms of everyone loves saying it, but X Factor, he has got it in abundance, whether it be that offload out the back of the hand, half break against Bath, whether it be the try against Gloucester, which interestingly left out of his highlights reel, whether it be moments which we've seen, Gatlin talks about him as a 10 option, when you could see that with his little chips over the top. Defensively, he's always been solid and works his socks off. So look, it's sad that I understand why he's made the move, and I understand why Cardiff have maybe been forced into agreeing to it because let's be honest, we all know the situation that's going on at the moment with the salary cap going down to 4.5 and all that entails. But for Gloucester, it's one hell of a signing because they are in a hole at the moment. Hopefully they get out of that hole before he joins because he deserves to be in a good side that are go forward and getting wins. But what a coup it is for Gloucester, especially with a young scrum half like Stephen Varney behind him to learn from him, because that's going to help Varney through the roof, and hopefully help the likes of Hastings outside him in the future as well.
Well, I'm not so sure about the Hastings thing because I believe his
contract's
up and he's looking to go elsewhere. Rumours are Cam Sheedy being the replacement there.
I did that, but anyway,
that's by the way. You've also got Charlie Atkinson as well, I think, supposed to be signing.
Yeah.
So it could be an Atkinson 10, 12, 13, the way things are going down at Gloucester.
Hold on, you've forgotten about, hopefully, there should be a big Glantav boy in 12 at some stage in the near future, hopefully, in Maxwell Island.
Oh, I said, if you can get in past Atkinson and Atkinson. Unfortunately, he's not really been getting the game time I'd have liked him to have over there. But that's not really Cardiff, so we won't worry about that.
Yeah, that's the other thing I would say is Thomas will certainly get game time there. Is because he will be the number one scrum half and deserves to be so, which is great for him and what he deserves and should be great for Wales in the future. And as you said, Ellis Bevan and Jamie Hill to step up, and if someone else comes up in the market that's available, then all the better. But if you say to me next season, Cardiff are going into the next season with Ellis Bevan as first choice scrum half, I'm not going to be afraid of that. No. I think he's definitely got the ability to do it. So
reminds me of the younger Thomas.
Yeah. I think he's quite different to Thomas, actually. I would say reminds me more of
it's more the confidence in himself. I think that's around, Mike Flick's
that's a 9, that's just a 9. Name me a 9 who isn't full of confidence and some would call it arrogance and cockiness.
I mean, I don't want to pick on him, but I'd say Stephen Varney. He looks constantly confused when I watch him play. That just might be his face. It might just be because he's also. I think it might just be
old face.
Yeah, he's got the face of a 12-year-old. I don't think it helps him there with that. But
anyway,
yeah. Before I don't want to start beef with just like random lads. Especially when I know the fact that they'd easily beat me in a fight. In slightly better news, Willis Halaholo's had his contract extended to the end of the season, so it will no longer be a month-by-month rolling thing. So I think the best thing about that is, it's given him some security till the end of the season. Whether it's, hopefully that gives him a chance to focus on rugby and sort out what his long-term future is going to be. Whether that is remaining at the Arms Park or if he wants to head over to, I heard some very, very the most rumory of rumours about him having some conversation with Dave Buttress after the Dragons game, but I think he's probably just being friendly. But anyway, good for Hannah.
I've got nothing to add apart from too right that he's got a contract and about time. That's all I'm going to say on that. I don't know the ins and outs, but yeah, it's about time. He deserves it. Move on. Good.
Yeah. Some rumours about Grady moving to. So we got some rumours. So Reece Carey strongly linked with going back to Sarries. Didn't really get a good crack last time, but there's rumours that Mako Vinopola is going to be going. So that's. So, you know, he might get some more game time. It's not been confirmed yet, but that's a strong rumour. And then Mason Grady went to watch Max Llewellyn play in Bath, and therefore he is now going to sign with them, is the current new rumour. How strong? You might know a little bit more about that, but
I think
say about it is another story.
Yeah, what I know, it is very minimal. The factual thing of it is any club will be looking at Grady, because who doesn't want a 6'5" winger / outside centre who can truck it up, plus run round players, plus fend them off, plus is good in the air to play for their side? Who doesn't want that? Yet I think English Premiership clubs are interested. I can understand that situation. Is it a worry because of the 25 cap rule? Yes. I know there's all this talk recently about players being eligible for if they're not offered serious contracts, etc., etc. I don't quite understand all of that, I must be honest, but it's a worry for Wales. But first and foremost, I say it's a worry for Cardiff. I said a few weeks ago on the pod that I'm a bit worried about the long-term future of the 13 jersey, considering Lilo and etc., etc. And I think Grady has to be on that list of keep him as much as you can, because it has to be a priority. If you think about his contract demands, he's not yet a British Lion, so he's not getting that top brand of
he's not a starting international either, so he's bringing him down a little bit. But yeah, can see him being I can see him in the next year or two being that starting, whether wing or 13.
Exactly. So I think you've got to try and keep him for as long as possible. That's without going into the in-depth analysis of the financial details of everything, I can't say for sure whether it's a good decision or not. But on a purely player basis, I think he has to be one of the players that you look at and say keep as much as you can, because what a player he can be. He already is a brilliant prospect, and already is a brilliant player. So the sky's the limit, as Evan said. On the Carey thing, the Saracens rumour happens every blooming season, and frankly, I'm fed up of hearing that he's going to Sarries. So that's my opinion on that one. Whether or not it's true or not, it'd be sad to see him go, obviously, but I can also understand why he'd want to in the current situation, especially after last summer, where he probably feels a little bit of a slap in the face in international terms. So maybe international honours aren't as much in his mindset at the moment. I don't know, but I wish him all the best, and hopefully he stays. But I understand if he wants to leave, like I understand with Thomas leaving as well.
Yeah, So I said I think of the two. So with Grady and Carey, I think Grady's probably the one we need to keep for more long term, and also because we don't really have any depth at 13, like any serious proper international class depth. Whereas we do at least have Domachowski loose head, so we do still have that starting loose head prop who's gonna help. The fact we have both is great, but if we could keep both, fantastic. So I'm sorry I forgot who on our Twitter feed said asked about retaining players. I think Grady probably the most essential one. Can win it. Alex Mann, Teddy, I think is another one. I think we need to, because I think the Ospreys game showed our second row depth is quite thin.
It's not just that Teddy's a star. Teddy's going to be a brilliant second row. So
yeah, Teddy. I think as soon as you lose Teddy, it does start crumbling. I think the role he has in that pack. I feel like Seb and Thornton, although slightly different players, they have a very similar role in the team. They're more, they're that more classic loose head block. They're running line out, and getting up and they're giving a little bit more freedom. Whereas Teddy's doing a lot of although he does some fantastic offloads and his offloading has been fantastic, he is also doing a lot of the grunt work. And I really, I think it's someone we really need. And if we could clone him and have another one, like have two of them on at the pitch at all times, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, genetics doesn't work like that. So,
can I add another one, which is Belcher? Because
I agree. Said although I think Ethan Daniel and Evan Lloyd have been fantastic, Belcher has gone up so many gears this season. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if it's because he's got the captaincy or if it's because he knows it's his shirt to lose. But this is the best I've ever seen him play. And he's scrummaging well. His throwing is a lot better than it ever has been. Round the park, he's excellent. Quieter captain than I'd like. But, I mean, that's something you can grow into.
Yeah, it's
Sam
not,
Warburton off from the... get Sam... He's on our board. Get Sam Warburton to actually do something and coach how to be a captain. Go on.
It's not the captaincy is the main thing for me. It's the form. If you'd have said at the start of the season, I looked at it and went, "Oh God, you've lost Dacey, you've lost Myhill. Now Belcher's out and out number one with Daniel and Lloyd, who Lloyd the converted hooker is only really just learning the trade." Big fan of Daniel. Mentioned it several times. I thought Daniel would be pushing Belcher for number one jersey. To be honest, I thought he might have it by now, and Belcher's just gone through so many gears. He was incredible against Bath, brilliant. That no wonder people are talking about him as not even an outside bet for Wales honours in the near future, because he's been phenomenal, fully deserves, and I think he's the sort of player you need to keep because he's got that experience. I don't know, again, don't know the financial exact honours, but if we're talking about roughly working it out in terms of the pay grades, he's not yet an international, so therefore will be a bit less than some of the other players. He's got that experience on the other hand, currently not playing internationally, so he's going to be there week in, week out, runs the line out really well, offers you a captaincy option as well on top. I don't see why that has to be a player that you keep for long term, because he'll make players around him better, he'll make the players behind him better, and he's been brilliant so far this season. Full credit to him. So again, we are sort of talking about players that we want to keep as opposed to players that we're worried about that are going to leave, because we're not 100% sure on their contract situations. But he has to be top of any list of players to keep, because he's been brilliant.
I said hopefully they've done something because they knew what the budgets for this and next season, in theory the next 5-6 seasons. I'm hoping that they've put, when obviously you have the Ronda front row of Donachowski, Belcher and Azarati signing, hopefully that's at least 2 years. I'm hoping it's 3, but it's probably going to be a 2-year, which is more of the done thing in rugby.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's, we don't have to worry about them for this season, because I think it's only about, it's a lot there are far fewer players this season than were last season who were, and I think there might be, I think Tamani's deal might be up, which if we can keep him, I'd quite like that. Just as having that extra bulk, but if he goes, I'm hoping that both the likes of both and Mackenzie Martin are going to be there to step up. Hopefully,
again, I don't know the ins and outs, but sadly, I think Tamani's one where it's going to be a surprise. I'd be surprised if Tamani stays. That's my.
I agree.
Knowing absolutely nothing, I want to clarify, but yeah,
I can see a pro D there, so I'm picking him up in no time at all. No, it's just one of those things. But he's one I'd like to keep, just because it's a name who we know we'd have all season. Yeah. So obviously Teddy, I think, is going to be a more of a regular in Wales camps.
Yeah.
There are many others. We could probably go through the whole squad. We want to keep everyone. Obviously, it's not possible.
Yeah.
But we'll stick with them, because obviously we don't want to be here all night discussing why we want to keep each and every single player in the squad.
I'll happily be here all night discussing.
Saying that, my mum's on a night, so I've got nothing else to do this evening. So
yeah, this is now a 4-hour podcast on.
Yeah, sorry guys. So that's squad stuff. Any more news?
Other than Falatau being out for a bit more time, which is hardly surprising, but sadly the case, really, that he's not going to make an appearance before Six Nations, and that is a
straight into Six Nations and broken before. I've heard this one before.
Yes, it is a little bit of a replay the record of Faletau then comes back for Six Nations, is brought back and then gets injured again. Hopefully he's taken care of and has made sure that he's fit when he does play and that he gets back to full fitness properly, which I'm sure everyone will do. Good strength and conditioning teams at both Cardiff and Wales, but he's it's sad to see that it's going to be a bit longer for Wales purposes and for Cardiff, but hopefully he comes back stronger and be at the end of this season or next season.
Yeah. Some good injury news though. It seems like Thomas Young's going to be available for this weekend. So
Yeah.
it'd be nice trying to rebuilding a bit of that back row depth, which particularly at 7 we were starting to go a little bit. I think after Lucas De La Rua, I think I was going to have to lace up boots.
Yeah, there was that week where you said, "Oh, it's definitely going to be Alex Mann this week," and it turned out to be Lucas De La Rua, and now it's who's next. But yeah, that back row is now. I saw someone say Ellis, the most Cardiff back rows of Ellis Jenkins, Thomas Young, both of them as a possible back three. But yeah, Thomas Young was so good.
I'd argue I'd put one of them on the bench and have get Alex Mann in there back. He's had a nice break now.
Yeah,
I think that's just how much I've loved him seen him play this season.
Yeah, he fully deserves his place, getting all the credit he deserves. But yeah, the Thomas Young situation is great to hear because he was so good last season. He was incredible, and quite rightly, some people were very miffed that he wasn't part of the Wales setup because he was one of, if not the standout 7 in Wales last season, apart from Jack. So I really hope he gets back to that sort of form because if he can, he's brilliant on his day, and especially with the weather hopefully turning, he'll love the fast tracks that are coming, especially when Cardiff head out to South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go. Well, so we'll make a departure from the URC. So we're going to actually switch genders. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Celtic Challenge of the women's teams. I'll be up front. I only watched the derby between Thunder and Lightning.
Yeah.
And it did lead to the jokes of Lightning scoring first and us and me and Hugh Griffin trying to seeing how long it'd be to work out how far away Thunder were.
Yeah.
So obviously we've got 2 seasons. We've got 2 teams this season. After only having one sort of United one, so we've got Brythnon Thunder. I believe I've butchered the Welsh. Please tell me you're the one who can actually speak our mother tongue.
Everyone's gone with Brython, haven't they? Brython Thunder, yeah.
Brython Thunder, who sort of playing red and black, based in Parker Scarlets. So they're not a Scarlets Ospreys amalgamation because both of them would hate that as much as saying Gwaithia Lightning, who play in blue and amber, are an amalgamation of Cardiff and Dragons. But it's basically they found a way to do it geographically. They've got basically almost a west side and an east side, even though it's from the same pool of players, and they've just divided them up. So from the look of it, Thunder had the likes of Natalia John, Alicia Butchers, Glenn Pearson's, some of the, basically any Welsh international who wasn't actively playing in the power. And then Lightning was fun, although we had a couple of internationals more up and comers, and I mean it's not as simple as that obviously, but it's quite nice to see that first game of the season we absolutely tonked them. A massive 20-5.
Yeah, it's a massive surprise. I think you said Alicia Butchers, who I don't know if she's finished her honeymoon yet, but she's still very firmly Bristol Bears. But Alex Callender was
That's it, yeah.
But yeah, Gwalia are flying, and it's really surprising because I looked at those 2 packs. I saw Sean and Harry's, Alex Callender, Natalia John, as you mentioned. You've got Meg Webb in the back. So I thought, now this is a strong side for Brython Thunder to put out. I thought they'd run out victorious, but Nell Metcalf running the show, driving the team around the pitch. You've got Kath Richards becoming an absolute star on the wing with 2 brilliant tries against Brython Thunder. Carried it on last week against Glasgow as well, scoring again. Got Molly Reardon at hooker, who is a converted scrum half as far as I'm aware. I was convinced she was a scrum half, and I genuinely remember emailing someone saying, we're sure that she's playing hooker because she's definitely a scrum half as far as I knew. But yeah, seems to be converted there. Then got some like olds, anyone that's followed teams like Pontyclean over the years when there were plenty about Kira Deeks on the bench. She's an absolute live wire of scrum half of Pontyclean, but she's been closing games out really well. You've got the likes of Brian King. So Gwalia have been flying. Gwen and Hopkins on the weekend, though, two tries, brilliant against Glasgow. One of the tries I've seen where she cuts a brilliant line off the line out. Just she was in under 18s, was it last year? So what a development she is, and what a prospect she's going to be. And it's really showing. It's a really good thing for Johan Cunningham, because this was supposed to be two purposes, wasn't it? Really, you've got the one purpose, which is to give play time to the players that aren't playing much and those Worcester Warriors girls that have lost their contracts. So that's the case of Alex Callender, Sinead Harris without a club, Meg Webb hasn't been playing much with Bristol Bears. And then you've got these young players like Nell Metcalf, like Kath Richards, Molly Reardon et al., who are getting an opportunity to show what they can do with Gwalia Lightning. And perhaps this was meant to be the more developmental team, but they have hit the ground running. They've obviously maybe played with each other a bit more, I don't know, but they are flying at the moment. The win on the weekend against Glasgow, 36 points to 19. They're running 6 tries, which, by any estimation is a good performance. So, yeah, they're flying high, and hopefully they'll be pretty confident with 3 games to go that they can get a place in the knockout games and hopefully win the competition, which would be one hell of an achievement for them going into what some of them will be hoping will be their first Six Nations on the back of this after some brilliant performances.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for that. Ticket. Well, I said all the tickets from the middle tier. I checked because I need to buy some. All the tickets in the middle tier, where you actually can pick a seat to sit, they've all gone. So it's just unreserved seating in the lower tier now. That seems to be available. So if you do want to watch that Wales-Italy game, get the tickets in fast. And if, like me, you're going to make it a double header and watch Wales women, then pop next door to see us play Edinburgh.
Yeah, I think that could be 2 class games, couldn't it? That's not a bad weekend of rugby. Well, not a bad weekend, not a bad day.
Yeah, so I don't know. It might depending on the results, it might take me the rest of the weekend to recover.
It's on another note. Sorry, I'm getting away with myself, but it's so good to have this competition now, because it's not just Worcester Warriors collapsing during the year. It's also the situation with not many of the girls are getting that much game time in the English Prem at the moment. They're not getting that much time playing. So when it comes to Six Nations time, Johan Cunningham, like any coach, will want players that are playing, and we've seen that in the football. I know this is a rugby pod, but Rob Page has constantly talked about wanting his players to be playing at any level and playing at the highest level possible, but if not, getting regular game time, performing well. Well, these girls now for Gwalia Lightning are performing well, so they are throwing their hands up for an opportunity for international honours, and showing what they can do and showing their stuff against, and doing it when they can also travel to Musgrave Park or travel to Scotland as well, and have the opportunity to play at grounds that they probably have never played at before, and have the opportunity of showing themselves against different nationalities and different styles of play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can only be better for them. And if getting this established league, and it almost it feels like they're trying to not fall into the same traps as happened in the men's game, the way they're trying to build it up gradually. So we had one team last season. This season we got 2. We're going to see how that runs. Make sure it's funding, get it there. They decided to base it in 2 dedicated rugby stadiums in Cap and Parker Scarlet, so they know, they know when there's going to be available weekends. I know they did it for a double header for the Dragons Scarlets game. Before that, they had the Gwalia they had Thunder versus Lightning beforehand on New Year's Day. But it's nice. For anyone who's interested in watching these games, they are available for free on Rugby Pass TV. You just have to log in with an email address, and then you've got that plus lots of other games. Basically, if a game's being televised in rugby and it's not on a UK broadcaster, chances are it's going to be on Rugby Pass TV. So they've got World Cup replays, and I think the Rugby Europe Championship might be migrating over to there from Rugby Europe TV. A few other things. You can watch some bizarre games like Brazil, USA. But yeah, so that's just a little plug to our overlords at World Rugby.
I will also say both home games so far have been streamed on the BBC website.
They have been streamed on the BBC website. Is it the same feed that's going through Rugby Pass TV? I think the Scottish games have been done by BBC Scotland.
I'm not 100% sure who it had been done, but it was Katie Powell on co-coms with his name's gone out my head. So sorry, yeah, and for lead comms on for the derby. But yeah, that was on BBC. But yeah, that was just sort of add that as that's where I was watching it, and hopefully Gwalia can continue their good form into the remainder of that season.
Yeah, absolutely. Stepping down a level. But do you want to do a quick roundup of things of what's going on at the Premiership?
Yeah, what's going on in the Indigo Prem, which is you've basically got Llandovery look in a situation where they're going to win or top the table. They look pretty comfortable in top four. They're almost, I think, 21 points ahead of fifth, which is a pretty strong place to be at this stage of the season. And then you've also got Edwu and Newport in that top four. And then there's an absolute bum fight for fourth, which I described. You've got all three Cardiff representative teams there, which are Cardiff, Pontypridd and Merthyr in that fight. Merthyr went down to surprise loss last time out against Neath. They'd be disappointed with that one. Neath getting only their second win of the season, second win on the bounce as well, which is great for them, obviously, but not ideal result for Merthyr. Pontypridd are probably ruining a couple of missed opportunities. They've lost, I think, a couple of their last games by a point. Josh Phillips went really close to winning that one last time out against Llandovery, actually, which losing by a point to Llandovery is not a bad result by any means, especially at Llandovery, but they will be ruining that loss. And Cardiff are looking more comfortable as the season's going on, which is not a surprise considering the turnover of players they had in the off-season, the amount of players they lost to Cardiff, the regional side for a start. We talk about Alex Mann, Evan Daniel, and co. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be an absolute royal battle for that fourth place, because I couldn't pick it at the moment. I think the favourites are Cardiff, because they've been there and done that. Pontypool are starting to, I wouldn't say the wheels have come off, but they're definitely starting to rock a bit following their brilliant start to the season. And then Aberavon are picking up a bit, actually, after a rocky start of the season. So you've got two teams going in contrasting directions, where Cardiff have been gradually improving. I think they've looked the most consistent side so far this season, so should hopefully grab their place in the top four, along with Llandovery and what looks to be like Evervale and Newport.
Thanks for that update. We'll keep you interested in that. If you want us to cover any more of the teams in sort of the Cardiff area, just drop us a line on our Twitter at Cardiff_Central. You can also contact me at Worthy Harley. I did not pick that. That's the Twitter auto-generated one. You also find us on our Facebook page, and I am. I believe both. Well, I certainly am. I'm not sure if you've joined just yet, Carwyn, but I'm on Blue Sky at harley.worthy at blue.bluesky. Blah 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 blah. We'll pop links and stuff. Links in my bio anyway. If you want to contact us, give us any other feedback. It does really help. Interactions. And obviously you can watch this podcast if you want to see our beautiful faces on Rap Podcast on YouTube. We are close to, we've just broken the 100 subscriber mark, actually. Obviously, the more subscribers we get, the more YouTube actually lets us get some of that money for all the adverts you watch around those videos, which, helps keep everything running. So that's all our shameless plugs out of the way. So shall we look forward to the next of Banter Season Part 2 in the Heineken Cup, where we are going to be hosting Harlequins. once again,
Yeah.
the Champions Cup. So potential homecomings for Jared Evans and Dylan Lewis if they are fit and selected. I think Jared might be injured, might have picked up a knock.
Jared's
I don't
out.
know if is he definitely out?
Pretty
There's
much,
no
yeah.
point turning up then.
Yeah, no, Jared was on crutches. What was the game they all turned back for? Was it Boxing Day? Yeah. So he's I don't think he's available. So yeah, Dylan's been playing his part for Harlequins. I'd expect him to be on the bench. He doesn't always start for them due to their strength of tight end, but yeah, it's nice to see them coming back, and it would have been even better if Jared was coming as well. But I'm really excited by this game. It's similar to the Bath game, really, isn't it? It's copy and paste. There's two teams that want to attack from everywhere. Harlequins have this thing called Marcus Smith that everyone likes to go on and on and on about. But I think this is a good matchup for Cardiff. I really do. I don't think this is a Harlequins side, despite flying in the English Premiership the second at the moment. I don't think it's a Harlequins side that are going to bully Cardiff. So you're looking at two sides that want to throw the ball around, want to play a bit of rugby, want to be entertainers. I fancy Cardiff win, and I haven't said that many times this season with that much confidence. I just don't know what it is. I think I looked at all four of the Champions Cup games, and I thought this was the one that Cardiff had the most chance of winning before we started. So yeah, I still think that, despite Harlequins being in good form. I watched them against Gloucester a couple of weeks ago, and they were very good. The scoreline suggests Gloucester were more in the game than they were, but Marcus Smith was superb, man of the match. Danny Keir was superb, but I don't think this is a pack that are going to dominate. So it's about trying to limit those halfbacks' influence, which is easier said than done. Though I don't know, Harley, if you've got any sort of words of wisdom on how to stop halfbacks of their talent.
I think same. It's it's usually a similar blueprint, is it? You just don't give them the time or space, or you set up traps that make Marcus Smith want to run into a hole, and you get in there, or you try and force him on the back foot. You try and on the floor you disrupt Danny Keir's service, so neither of them have the time they want to do their thing. It's all the usual basics for it. But I think as long as we can get parity, if not slight dominance up front, if we're not. We don't need to get. I'm not talking about making sure we get a penalty from every scrum, going 60 meters with every driving line out. Just setting, as long as we've got a good back play, something for our backs to play against. I think one thing that's going to be key is having De Beer fit, because as we discussed in the pod, we haven't really had the time to bed anyone in. And for me, Ben Thomas isn't really, for me. I think he's becoming more and more that playmaking backup 12. He's then he is an out and out fly half, or an actual organising the attack. He's someone who you can have step in at first receiver, make a right option, or slightly wider out. He's got the skill to put in that kick and put in that pass. But maybe with someone else controlling the game, properly controlling the game. I think Thomas is going to be shit hot. I think going up, the battle between him and Danny Keir could be excellent. Tyrone Green versus Cam Winnett, I think it's going to be excellent. I believe last time Cam Winnett played against Harlequins, he was one of my players of the match. And I think at the Stoop we only lost by 3, and it was a hell of a close game. James Botham want to prove once again he's better than Alex Dombrand.
He is. There's no need to prove it, is there?
Yeah, no, but sometimes you just got to show it because people forget.
Why can't Mackenzie Martin prove the same?
Big Mac has nothing to prove here.
We are trying to wind up as many people as possible here, aren't we, on this pod?
Yeah.
Why not? No, you bring up the back row though. That is the crucial one, isn't it? It's maybe not Paul Ringer-esque, take the 10 out, but it is a job of slowing down the ball. It is a job of giving them no time. That Marcus Smith probably the closest comparison Cardiff have played against so far. Johan Lloyd, is that fair? Would you say in the capability as a running 10? And you saw
purely running game, yes, but I would say Marcus Smith is more obviously a 10 than Johan is. I think. I feel like we just fell to Scarlett's bullshit on more than Johan actually organising an attack there. But yeah, he is quite elusive as a runner. His kicking game is game control and gets better every time he plays. He started off as a bit of a mean, running goose step and not much else, but now he's actually becoming a far more rounded player than some people give him credit for.
Yeah, watching that Gloucester game a couple of weeks ago, he had a brilliant 50-22 where he basically grubbed it through. It was brilliant. But I just the point I was going to make is the amount of time Cardiff gave Johan Lloyd versus the amount of time they have to give Mark Smith. They have to stop the time. They have to pressure him. They have to just find a way of putting pressure on him without leaving gaps, which I know many great defenses have tried and failed before. But that's he's it's going to be an interesting matchup. There are so many good matchups to talk about, whether it be that 10 battle, seeing how he can go against Marcus, whether it be scrum half Thomas against Danny Kay. That's always been a tasty battle. It's going to be even a brilliant one now. But
whoever goes, was it Ben Thomas against Esterhazen? That's going to be an interesting.
About that, because obviously I think Andrew Ford put it in as a question to us, wasn't it? To pick our 15 for this game this weekend. Would you be tempted to go with Halaholo, that added bit of bulk to deal with Esterhazen in 12?
I'm in two schools of mind because I feel like Ben Thomas is playing so well that it sounds like I don't feel like he deserves to be dropped. I mean, the thing is, because we don't know if De Beer is fit, but I don't think he's been ruled out. But I don't think as well they said he's definitely okay. At least I haven't seen anything like that. So it could be that we may end up seeing Ben Thomas, Halaholo, and Lilo. Probably not what I'd like to see. Now, I think for me, I'd keep Ben Thomas at 12, Lilo at 13, De Beer at 10.
I think he may
but
go
I do see the point of Halaholo at 12, and I could see you having that extra bit of bulk and physicality would help, particularly getting through. What is the Quins' defense? Is actually pretty all right. It's a decent defense. I think one thing you've got to be careful for is that Nick Davids sniffs out tries from anywhere, and he seems to summon balls to him. So I think whoever's going to be opposite him on the wing, you've got to have good defense. I think it's you've got to have Josh Adams that outmarking him. Probably one of the best defensive wingers in Wales, if not the UK. Again, keep Grady at 11, bulk size. Cardiff have been doing a thing with Grady and Lilo where Lilo will pop out into the wing and Grady comes in the 13 channel and they'll switch in defense and attack depending on the picture. So quite happy with that. Ken when it starts at fullback for me. Simple as that. He's as good as Beethan's been. Cam when it's proven, he's our number one.
Yeah, I agree. I suppose the only other question is back row, especially with Thomas back. But I think you've highlighted a little bit there that you think Alex Mann needs to start at 6. So it's about the other two, really, isn't it? Who's your 7? Who's your 8?
So it's an interesting one because I think as well it will depend on type 5 and bench as well.
Yeah.
So I'd be tempted. I'm tempted to start the Ronda front row. Domachowski, Belcher, Azarati. Have Carey, either Evan or Ethan, whichever one for the replacement hooker. I think they're both excellent off the bench. And then Reece Littrick, I think, has done nothing to shift himself from that bench spot. And then second row, I'm probably thinking Teddy. Maybe start Teddy Seb, bring Thornton, or starting Thornton and bring Seb on for impact. Is my.
I think I'd start Teddy Seb because I don't think I've got Timani in my team. I think I've got Timani on the bench.
Yeah, I'd have Timani as sort of on the second row, 8, back at 8.
Yeah, I personally will go. I was going to go Mann, Jenkins, both of them as my back row. So therefore, I've got Timani as a bench player, which isn't bad.
Yeah. I was there thinking, do you go for whether you go 5-3 or 6-2? I don't think you'll go 6-2 again. But I'd say probably if you went Thornton Tamani on the bench, and then you either bring in like a Mackenzie Martin or a Lucas De La Rua,
Yeah.
and you have them as your bench option.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the joy of having Ben Thomas at 12 is it does make the 6-2 bench a lot easier to do. And with Ben Thomas at 12 and Grady on wing, that midfield just shuttles, and it's quite nice.
And Beetham as well, able to play.
Yeah, if you've got Beetham as well. Yeah, so you've have Beetham, say you have Ben Thomas start Halahola on the bench with Bevan. Pretty much everything's covered.
Yeah, I agree. But I do fancy Jockey.
I think it's going to be 5-3. I think it's going to be 5-3, and you're going to have Thornton or Tamani.
Yeah, I also think Halahola is going to start, and I can only base it on what they did against Scarlet, where you've got Johnny Williams that picked Halahola, where whenever there's been a Big 12, they have tended to go with Halahola. So I do wonder if that's a bit of thought process.
He lost against Scarlet.
Yeah, but I'm just going.
That's all I'm saying is I feel like Ben Thomas is going so well and going so well. I don't want to shift him. That's my only thought.
Yeah. What's your prediction for scoreline then? Because I've said I think Cardiff are going to win. I'll pick Cardiff by 7. There we go.
I'm gonna go. I think on the wrap, I can't remember. We don't write down the European games, so that's you can't hold me to it. I think probably just based purely on the having the likes of Marcus Smith, Danny Kerr. I don't know if Joe Marler's fit or not. The one thing Quins have to worry about is I think some of their second rows are a bit weirdly almost too heavy, so they're losing a lot of like line out ability with them because it's it's basically herbs and Launchbury, but that means then that the pack is a bit more grunt if it means losing a little bit of line out. I'm going Quins by 4, but I very much hope I'm wrong. But I think that's just me being the actual negative one.
I want this documented, by the way. Anyone listening to note me being positive. I don't know if it's 2024, but New Year, New Me, and me being the positive one and Harley being the negative one for a Cardiff result. When I got heavily criticised for the week that Harley wasn't here for the my Bath prediction, so I just want that. I want that on the record that I said Bath would win. Harley heavily criticised me, and now he's flipped the tables.
I never criticised you for picking a Bath win.
Did you not?
I agree.
Anyway,
I agreed.
As they now say, I've got the receipts. But yeah, I do fancy it, and hopefully everyone can make it a good spectacle. I know it's a late freezing evening, but I think it'd be good when I'm working on the game, albeit virtually. So I'm excited to see that, and hopefully it goes well.
Yeah. Again, I'll be right. Seems like it's almost a sellout if it hasn't officially sold out yet. I think last I heard there was 200 tickets left in the North Terrace.
I think I heard sellout, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, I mean it might have already been a sellout. I mean I don't know if they've gone for the extra tickets again. Which if that happens, what was it? That would be the 3rd time it's happened with one of them. The Dragons being a sellout. That would be excellent. And hopefully we can continue it through the last few home games in the Yerk as well.
And if anyone's got a lorry or a bus to park it somewhere around there, then feel free.
If you're on one of the Westgate Street flats, if you want to just open up your home for tickets, I imagine you make some money that way as well.
Yeah, I partly want to piss off John Barkley, which is someone else I want to tick off the list now, seemingly. But no, I did see that too. Did find it quite funny, but yeah. It's going to be a great spectacle and should be a brilliant game. There we go. There's putting the knockers on it, but yeah, it should be a brilliant game between two sides that want to play great rugby.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. It is Saturday at 8 o'clock, I believe.
Yeah,
if it was Friday, I would have stayed in Cardiff before travelling back down to Wales, but unfortunately, it's not. So yeah, good for family. I believe that's pretty much everything. I have just one thing to just a sort of a plug on behalf of our friends over at CF Tendrus.
Yeah, crack on. There was only one other thing ahead of next week, but we can run through that quickly afterwards.
Yep. So so as you remember, we've had Lynn on the program many weeks ago now, and one of the things we're discussing is the supporters representative to the Cardiff board. So he is going to be hosting a Q&A it's being hosted by CF10. He'll be there to answer all our questions on January the 30th for members of the CF10 Trust. So if you aren't already, I recommend you sign up. It's £1 for life, which is the cheapest membership you'll ever find ever. You just put in your email, they'll send out a newsletter. If you're having any problems, please contact the guys at CF10 Trust on all their socials at CF10 Trust. If they're not answering, then look for Lynn Glenister and Stephen Coombs, both brilliant guests on the pod. Or if you want to message us, I can put you in touch with Colin can put you in touch with the right people. It's just a great chance, for us as fans to talk, particularly in the lead up to the general meeting where we're going to have the approval votes for the Cardiff takeover and everything. I believe that's everything. I think that's all I need to say about that one.
Yeah. Anyone wants to get involved, feel free, because the more people, the more views, the better, isn't it? Basically, the more views you hear from, the more rounded you can approach it as a club, or a region. Sorry, in this case, I should say. The only other thing I wanted to mention, as it is Wales squad next Tuesday, next announcement next week. Mark the diaries. Is who are the players that are we think are in the reckoning for Wales squad's selection. I'll just rattle through this quickly, really, because I think there are a few definite that Harley and I probably will agree with, which we've mentioned a couple of them a couple of times on the pod already. Domachowski, I think, is pretty much nailed on. He was pretty consistently second choice during the World Cup, and I think he's shown, continued that form, if not improved on it this season already. Another one I'd mention is obviously Thomas Williams is pretty much a definite, if not nailed on, again, second choice. Josh Adams will, regardless of whether he's going to be playing wing or fullback, will undoubtedly be an option, and Grady. The other two I've got as I think should be, if not are definites. Azarati, I think, one, he's gone on leaps and bounds from last season. That's my first point on it. And then second of all, I think he will benefit from playing in Wales, whereas the three tight heads that are obviously part of the World Cup squad are not. I think someone like Thomas Francis has done it before, so Gatland will be confident with him. But the likes of Henry Thomas and Dylan Lewis maybe haven't done that short turnaround from joining the squad to being part of the squad immediately. So I think Azarati's nailed on there, and Teddy Williams is the other one who we've been going on week about how great he's been. So I struggle to see how he doesn't get into the Wales squad. I don't know if
I just want to step in on the Azarati point is Gatland's going to want to do live scrum training when it's not on the fallow weeks, and you're going to need at least two tight heads, and you're really looking at Azarati, Brown, but given his performance, and Derby's probably not, and then you've got the likes of Harry O'Connor and Sam Wainwright. I don't know what both the situation is, or if he even wants to be. So I think he's in he's in a very good position.
I'd throw Fairbrother in there as well, because I do think he's been playing.
Yeah, I think Fairbrother has actually probably been one of the form tight heads in Wales, I'd say, to be fair.
You'd agree.
So you're going to want a two. So I imagine one, if not both of them, are going to be involved in the squad at points. Whether it is one, he goes for 4 or 5. I imagine he'll probably go for 4 front rows, and so it will probably be only 2 of Henry Thomas, Dylan Lewis, and Thomas Francis. I don't think. Keeping a brief eye on the Montpellier team sheets, I haven't really seen Henry Thomas playing, so that might count against him. I'm pretty sure Thomas Francis has been playing for Provence, but how much Gatland sees it, because obviously we don't see the Pro D2 here, which is it. So if there is anyone who does anything with broadcast rights, if you can get a Pro D2 contract, that'd be great. I'd very much like to watch some eye gouging.
There is an additional thing with that, which is Thomas Francis has been there, done that for several years.
That's the thing as well. I think he knows that system in and out, and he knows exactly what Gatland wants out of him.
Yeah. And then I think then unless there are any more definites you think that should be included there, I think we're then into the maybes and probables,
Yeah, I'd
which
say I think now we're on the people who we think should have done enough to get in.
yeah. So two that jump to mind, and it's not going to be any surprise. Alex Mann and Cam Winnett, that
Yep.
we're mentioning those two as people we think should be there. I think Alex Mann might be in a battle with both them for a slot in the Wales camp. That's the only thing that I think could count against them, is whether or not that turns into a 50-50 battle. And Cam Winnett, maybe, as we mentioned earlier, might be in a battle with Kai Evans likewise. So, but I think both deserve their place. I don't know how Harley sees it. Whether you seem to think that maybe both them and Mann can get in.
It's just thinking about who's injured, like the players who aren't available, because obviously Gatlin likes that line-out option 6, especially if you can have a line-out option 8 as well, which obviously both of them isn't really. He's definitely he's the player you tend to have out in the midfield, or your tail gunner in the lineup, or the +1. But both Team Plumtree's out, and Crush Chunza hasn't been seen an extra for a while. Whether Gatlin feels confident he can get him up to speed, but again has that not around issue, that might open up a spot for Mann, because he is that line out 6. Right, he's not an out and out high. He's not a hybrid lock, but that's not necessarily as important in a Six Nations squad where you can have a bit more of an inflated squad. And then for me, I'd say both of them is a potential 8 option. But also with the loss of Jack Morgan, they're both players who can cover the back row, very good ball carriers, and their work over the ball and their defence are excellent. So I think you could squeeze them in, but it depends where he goes with other players. Obviously, back row is not somewhere short. Especially the rumours of Rhys Ruddock being brought into the squad as a sort of experienced head. For me, I think if you want someone who can cover the back row, is an experienced head, is called Josh Turnbull. If you really want to do that, but I'd probably go. You've got Ellis Jenkins as well, who's a 6'7", and again, is someone who's captain Wales been there, done that. Is he up to international standards since the injury? I don't know. If you wanted him in there for the to help with the squad,
I'd be much more comfortable seeing Ellis Jenkins than either Turnbull or Ruddock. I think Turnbull himself has said, maybe last year, that he thought his international days were past him. Like, I got to be honest. We're at the start of a new cycle. I'd be really frustrated if I saw a Rhys Ruddock at 33 or a Turnbull at whatever he is in those squads, because all for experience and everything, but Alex Mann deserves his place. Both of them is a brilliant player. I kind of get the Reddit thing. I don't quite get on board with it, I must be honest. But yeah, Jenkins is an outside bet, but he's in a bum fight with a 7 from pretty much every region for that other slot, along with Tommy Reffell. When you've got your McLeod, you've got your Harry Deeves, you've got your Bashams as well. So it could be any of those to get that other 7 spot.
I know we're mainly focusing on Cardiff, but Harrison Keddy is a name who I think is worth the look at, purely because of how well he's played for the Dragons. I think he was the one. He was one of the few who was made himself look respectable during that Cardiff game, and was excellent against Scarlets.
Yeah, he just seems to always get overlooked, though, doesn't he? That's the thing with Keddy. So that's why I probably have overlooked it myself. Is once players started to be overlooked for several times, you start also automatically overlooking them. The other, well, there is one bolter, because obviously with Falatau's injury, there is a space opening up at number 8, and look, I'm Wainwright's probably nailed on to start at 8, therefore. But then who's your backup 8? Morgan Morris has been overlooked almost every season, and I think it's fair to say he has been. If there's ever a guy who deserves to have the chance, it should be Morgan Morris. But if he's going to be overlooked again, you're looking at the likes of Mackenzie Martin or Morgan Morse to be called up as out and out number 8. So I don't think that's. Do I think it's ridiculous to call up an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old number 8 to international? Well, that's what happened with Falatau, so I don't know. But yeah, they've both got an outside chance, I think, of getting into those squads. I'd likewise say Seb has an outside chance as well. You mentioned the line out 6 option,
Yeah,
and also can play 8. It's a bit of I think he's unlikely
rather.
because of the form of Fender and Teddy along with David Jenkins, but I think he's got an outside chance.
Yeah, so I think the only other name I'd say is a possible, he's a possible more than the probable is Ben Thomas, because I do think he has been playing really well. I don't think centres are fit. I do think we're struggling. Like I don't think Maxwell, and I don't think Dick had the chance to break through. I don't know if he's still in Gatland's mind, or because he's not really getting game time at Gloucester. Johnny Williams, as much as I know the people who love him absolutely love him and say point out all his good things, he just doesn't do it for me at the international level. And I'd say he's probably closer like for like to Tompkins, but more as a distribute. In terms of his distribution, the sort of rugby intelligence side of thing, that's more than anything. And having that kicking option, extra kicking option, is going to help ease pressure off whoever's going to be starting home, whether it's Gareth Davis, Hardy, or Thomas, because we're likely going to be Costello starting 10. Realistically, because there's not really anyone. But then you've got Ben Thomas, who's name checked as a 10 option. So I think he's got a chance of getting into the squad. I'm not saying he definitely will. I'm not saying that he's not to the same level. I'd say Alex Mann and Teddy and Mason have nailed their colours to the mast of getting in the squad. I'd say Ben Thomas is probably worth a look, because I don't think he got a fair shout with it with the Pivac. So it'd be nice to see him have another go.
I think he's.
I'd have loved to have been in the conversation, but unfortunately, his injuries have gotten the better of him once again.
Yeah, I was going to say with Ben, I think he's a case of maybe third choice 12, third choice 10 sort of scenario with him, or second choice 10 maybe, that he could get into that squad, because I'd be remiss of me not to mention Kieran Williams, because I have banged that drum several times about being a fan of his. But yeah,
I don't know what Gatland is. That's the thing. And
totally.
Gatland, I do think his season. I mean, if I was going to call an uncapped 12, Eddie James has really impressed me when he's played for Scarlets. And actually, I'd like to see Joe Roberts in the squad as well. I mean, I know we're trying to focus mainly on Cardiff, but it is very hard when you talk Wales not to talk about players who've excited you all across.
Agreed. The last name is obviously Rhys Carey, but as mentioned, the slap in the face last time may suggest that is unlikely.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I think I said Lou said props. Actually, weirdly, we've got depth. Whether it's good depth, I'm still not sure yet.
And we spoke of Belcher earlier, obviously, as an outside bet as well. That's the
I'd say he'd be a very outside bet, though, because I think again hooker we're quite stocked at. It's just that third position in the scrum we're struggling with.
Yeah. I think that ties everything over. We'll see in whatever it is, 6 days' time, or whenever you're listening to this, however many days before D-Day. Thanks very much. Well, I don't know why I'm starting the closing. I've never done the closing.
You can do it, yeah. I do the opening, you do the close.
Thanks very much, Harley, for joining me for today to do the pod. You can follow us on socials, Harley, which is...
I only know on Twitter or the app Elon Musk bought that was Twitter. I won't call it his proper name because screw him. Why not piss another person off to finish the night? So we're at Cardiff_Central. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Although I do not check it because I don't know how it works. It's weird witchcraft. I think Carwyn occasionally looks at it. But you're better off messaging us either through Facebook or on Twitter. We're also on YouTube on @Rap Podcast, which annoys me because it's podcast. But Lee just tells me to shut up. So please like, subscribe, comment under videos and our posts. More interaction, the more we know we're doing the right thing, whether it's constructive criticism or just saying you think we've done a great job. Cheers.
And feel free to listen to future pods. Hopefully we'll have some guests on in the near future, and look out for Saturday. Hope to see you there, and enjoy the weekend rugby. Jeff Marianne, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Cardiff Central podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question is, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.